Hello and welcome to Confrontation Points Video Snark. I read bad books so that you don't have to. I'm continuing my review of Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Chapter 17. Juliet is startled that they're going outside and tries to ask why. Warner doesn't really answer and only just forces her out. And then, because the author doesn't know how to help herself, we then proceed to drown in more purple prose about the clouds. I guess it has been a while since Juliet waxed poetically about nonsense that doesn't matter. Warner pulls out a gun, tells the horrified Juliet that it's not for her, and leads her over to the fence. They look over where they see rows of soldiers standing perfectly still. And this bears telling you about it simply because, well, it has been a while since I said this, but I had to read this and so do you. The formatting is exactly how it was in my PDF. Black and gray and black and gray and black and gray and bleak. Warner then goes down to the soldiers. He pulls a small square of perforated metal out of his pocket and presses it to his lips, where, when he speaks, his voice carries over the crowd like it's been amplified. Juliet knows what Diwali and Ramadan is, but she doesn't know what a microphone is. Warner calls the soldiers to order, and they all move in unison, which seems to impress Juliet some. He introduces Juliet to all of the soldiers, as well as bringing forward the guard Juliet had touched last night. Juliet is only just glad that not only is he okay, but also on his feet as well. Warner then orders the soldiers to do something else, and they do this other weird sequence where they drop down onto their knees in unison before he calls forward one man in particular. This man steps forward and says that they're bringing charges against another man. I'm still trying to piece together what is and isn't going to be important in this series. I'll just tell you what these crimes are. Basically, he left the campus without permission, which is AWOL for you military nerds, was talking with random people who might be looking to topple the oppressive government, and stole food and supplies, which he probably gave to said rebels. After reading the charges, they ask the guy if he did it. When he agrees, Warner then shoots the man point blank in the head. Chapter 18. As you might expect, following witnessing a man getting shot and killed that sends Juliet into an emotional shock. Warner has to lead her away from there. And this book does like to make weird metaphors out of Juliet's various body parts whenever something even mildly inconvenient happens to her, of which I know that I said that I wasn't going to comment about, but for once the author somehow managed to actually capture the level of horror that's somehow appropriate for this scene. My heart must be bleeding out of my chest. I look down and can't understand why there's no blood on my dress, why this pain in my heart feels so real. If only the author could figure out how to apply this brief second of actual good writing to the rest of the nonsensical garbage that she's churning out, then we would be golden. Juliet finally finds her voice and starts trying to chew Warner out, but Warner basically tells her that this is a dog-eat-dog world. Warner then takes Juliet back to her room and tells her to rest for the remainder of the day. Juliet asks about Adam, if he's going to kill Adam as well, but Warner only says that he kills people when he needs to. He continues on and says that the real work will begin tomorrow and please don't kill anybody before then. Juliet scoffs over the idea and gets angry that he would dare compare the two of them, calls what she has a disease, but Warner gets angry and says that she has a gift. Juliet tells Warner exactly where he can stick it. Chapter 19. As you might imagine, following witnessing such an event leads to trauma dreams for Juliet later. Except in them, it's Adam that gets shot rather than that man. She also ends up killing that guard from earlier, too. She feels like she's going insane and ends up down on the floor because the bed is too soft. She feels like the message Adam left in her notebook is another orchestration by Warner just to drive her further mad. That's how Adam finds Juliet later. She doesn't really offer much of an explanation. Adam only just grabs a pillow from the bed and tells her to go back to sleep. Later, Juliet wakes up, startled at the thought of needing to keep to a clock schedule again. She goes to the bathroom, only to find Adam in the process of putting his shirt back on. She had wondered earlier why he always kept his shirt on, but now sees that his back is covered with bruises. They have a weird moment where they want to touch each other, but she tells him no. Adam then pulls her into the shower with the water turned on in case there are microphones, and I get why they'd want to put microphones, even if they couldn't put in cameras, but just imagine being the guard who has to listen to bathroom sounds. Ew. I can touch you, he says. I didn't understand until the other night. Of course he can touch her. We couldn't possibly have a young adult dystopia without the angst-filled romance. However will they have lingering touches if they can't even touch? I feel like there could have been a lot that the author could have done with Juliet's power. I've read so much X-Men fanfiction featuring Rogue over the years, and I've seen the no-touch thing being an exceptionally powerful plot device in slow-burn romances. But nope, out of all the people in the world, Adam is the only one who isn't somehow affected by Juliet's power. After a lot of teenage wanks wrapped up in purple prose, Adam eventually continues on, says that the first night he was in the cell with her, Juliet screamed out in her sleep. He tried to wake her up by touching her, but that didn't work. But also nothing happened to him either. As he mentioned, he didn't understand why she was so against anybody touching her until he saw her hurt the other guard. He then kisses her cheek and stays there. Juliet is so surprised that he's not screaming in agony or anything. He promises that he's going to get her out of this terrible place. He then randomly takes his shirt off, and I feel like this book is below the curve because it's been a while since we were last reminded of how hot that he is. This book needs to catch up. And clearly, standing shirtless under the shower spray and Juliet looking at his abs and pecs is a good way to do that. He has a bird tattoo on his chest, and I'm the bird and I'm flying away. Of course the bird is a metaphor. Chapter 20. And we're going to start the chapter off with some more stupid. I'm wearing a dress the color of dead forests and old tin cans. How can you be so descriptive yet completely and utterly fail to describe literally one thing? What does any of this mean? Is it brown, black with rot, reddish orange with rust, silver, somehow all of the above? The world will never know. She's always covered up because of her deadly skin, but Warner seems to be forcing her into shorter and shorter dresses. Her mind is also reeling, following the knowledge that Adam can touch her. She's so full of hope, but she doesn't dare let it show in any way. I am sitting all alone in a velvet chair in a blue room wearing a dress made out of olives. I sure hope she means that she's gone full Lady Gaga and this is literally made of olives. I can't anymore. Juliet continues to be bitter towards Warner for forcing her to remain there, for forcing her into that dress. She feels like the fact that she's wearing the clothes he tells her to and the fact that she shows up for meals, he should be telling her some things. Personally, my desire for Warner to tell us things comes more from the fact that we're now 20 chapters into this book, and I still don't know if we should be rooting for or against Warner. Like, yes, he is holding her captive, and yes, he did shoot the guy in the head, but, like, what's his motivation? Why is he doing all of this? I don't know. Maybe Juliet is just being an annoying, whiny brat, and we should be cheering on Warner? How will we know when the book will not stop talking about dresses and other dumb things that don't matter? I know that I talk about the books that take forever to get to the point that struggle to have a plot, and this book does as well. But at the same time, I feel like the lack of plot movement is more because the author is so hung up over the dumb aesthetic thing that she's got going on and forgets to write the point of the story. Warner then calls in some people for his breakfast, and some people that Juliet struggles to name come in with the food. The servants, maids, people who are not soldiers leave. Slaves! Stop beating around the bush and call them what they are, slaves. Ignoring giant issues like this is probably how civilization sunk so far, so fast. And then Warner forbids her from killing herself, like, oh, so glad that you're forbidding that. Not like you could stop her from breaking something and using it to slit her wrists or whatever. People who are desperate enough to want to kill themselves don't need much. Not like Juliet is suicidal or anything. Even when she reflected on that boy suggesting that she should kill herself, she never once thought, maybe I should. It seemed more like an annoying suggestion that was immediately scoffed over. And then, not even 2 paragraphs later, he says this to her. The world is disgusted by you, he says, his lips twitching with humor. Everyone you've ever known has hated you, run from you, abandoned you. Your own parents gave up on you and volunteered your existence to be given up to the authorities. They were so desperate to get rid of you, to make you someone else's problem, to convince themselves the abomination they raised was not, in fact, their child. Wow, this totally wouldn't want to make Juliet want to kill herself. I'm honestly more than a little confused over what it is that he's going for here. He continues on and says that he isn't the bad guy here, but like, dude, he kept her locked up for close to a year to see how she'd react. Like, yeah, her parents are trash for abandoning her, but Warner is the whole freaking dumpster, and it's on fire, and it's full of crying orphans, and there's a train barreling towards it. You might find yourself enjoying this situation a lot more than you anticipated. Lucky for you, I'm willing to be patient. He grins, leans back, though it certainly doesn't hurt that you're so alarmingly beautiful. This guy sounds less like a character in a single episode of Law & Order SVU and more like a multi-plot arc around a child predator that's difficult for the team to catch. Juliet can only think that she hates him so much. Except that, as I keep saying, I'm not even sure if we're supposed to view this guy as a bad guy or not, because this book won't tell us anything. Warner then says that he's 19, which is in answer to Juliet asking earlier, which is an important distinction, because I'd honestly been picturing him as some balding dad bod 40-something. And again, I feel like the author is so focused on telling us about stuff that doesn't matter that she forgets to tell us about the stuff that really does matter. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because sometimes I drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to support me. The first is watching this video as well as all of my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main Snarks, then you can find even more Snarks on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month. Plus, you also get early access to my main Tumblr Snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my Snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $3 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well. $3 for every 5,000 words. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of erotic short stories and one full-length novel. I also sometimes run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do that just so you know when I might be offering more things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys. Asked me to find a mortgage lender near me, and I'm just all like, what does near me mean? And then it says Kansas City, and I'm just all like, is Kansas City anywhere near Arizona? And that is really weird.